6 months after the fall of the hegemony, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on the crystal world of New Harmony. The planet had once been a hegemony prison world where conquered species were held as slaves. Now it served as the meeting place for the new Galactic Council. Ambassador So Young walked through the great assembly hall, looking at the hundreds of different alien species seated in the circular chambers. There were the blue-skinned Altarians who had been enslaved for 2,000 years, the insect-like Zephyrians who had lost their homeworld to hegemony expansion, the peaceful Valdorians whose entire civilization had been forced into labor camps. All of them were free now, thanks to human intervention. But freedom came with responsibility, and these species needed to learn how to govern themselves after millennia of oppression. Distinguished representatives, So Young began as she stood at the center of the hall. We gather today to establish a new order for our galaxy, an order based on cooperation rather than conquest, unity rather than domination. The former slaves listened carefully. Many had never seen a human before the liberation. They had expected their new rulers to be as harsh as the old ones. Instead, they found beings who offered partnership and respect. Admiral Hyunwoo, now bearing the title Protector of the Galaxy, watched the proceedings from Earth via holographic link. His hair had grown grayer during the war, but his eyes were bright with hope for the future. "The hegemony is gone," he announced to the assembly. "But we did not fight this war to replace one empire with another. Humanity has no desire to rule over other species. We fought to restore freedom to the galaxy." An Altarian representative raised one of her forearms. "Admiral Hyunwoo, our people are grateful for liberation, but we are confused. You possess the most powerful military in galactic history. Why do you not claim the hegemony's territory for yourselves?" Hyunwoo smiled. "Because that's not who we are. 50 years ago, we found an ancient ship drifting in space beyond our home system. Inside that ship, we discovered the history of the precursors, the civilization that ruled this galaxy before the hegemony conquered them." Dr. Yoon-ji appeared on a secondary holographic display, her laboratory filled with ancient precursor artifacts. The precursors were guardians, not conquerors. They used their advanced technology to protect developing civilizations and maintain peace. When the hegemony grew too powerful, the precursors hid their most advanced technology and waited. "Waited for what?" asked a Zephyrian delegate, his insect-like mandibles clicking with curiosity. "For a species worthy of inheriting their legacy," Hyunwoo replied. "The ship we found wasn't lost. It was a test. The precursors wanted to see if we would use their technology for conquest or protection." The revelation sent murmurs through the assembly. The humans hadn't just stumbled upon advanced technology. They had been chosen by the galaxy's original guardians to carry on their mission. Captain Da-un, now promoted to Coordinator of Planetary Liberation, stood to address the council. "Over the past 6 months, human forces have helped establish governments on over 3,000 worlds. We've provided food, medical supplies, and defensive systems to species that were enslaved for millennia. The statistics were impressive. Human engineering teams had rebuilt entire civilizations. Human doctors had cured diseases that the hegemony had deliberately spread to keep populations weak. Human teachers had helped restore lost languages and cultures. But this is only the beginning," Da-un continued. "True freedom means you no longer need us to solve your problems. We're here to help, not to rule." Colonel Tae-ho had perhaps the most important job of all. As head of the new Galactic Defense Corps, he was training mixed-species crews to protect the galaxy from future threats. His training facilities on Mars welcomed volunteers from dozens of worlds. "The precursors left us warnings," Tae-ho explained to the assembly. "There are threats beyond our galaxy that even they feared. Dark forces that consume entire civilizations. We must be ready to defend ourselves when they arrive." The training programs were voluntary, but response had been overwhelming. Former slaves wanted to learn how to protect their newfound freedom. Young beings from dozens species worked together, learning to operate precursor technology under human guidance. Lieutenant Min-ho, now an instructor at the Defense Corps Academy, taught former enemies to work as allies. Hegemony soldiers who had surrendered were welcomed alongside their former victims, all united in the goal of protecting the galaxy. "The precursors believed that diversity makes us stronger," Min-ho told his mixed species classes. "Every culture brings unique perspectives. Every species has something valuable to contribute. The transformation wasn't without challenges. Some former hegemony worlds resisted change, preferring the familiar tyranny to uncertain freedom. A few conquered species wanted revenge against their former oppressors. But gradually the galaxy was healing. Commander Wu Jin continued his intelligence work, but now his mission was exploration rather than espionage. His stealth ship searched for more precursor sites, uncovering ancient libraries and research stations that had been hidden for millennia. Each discovery teaches us more about our responsibilities, Wu Jin reported to Admiral Hyun-woo. The precursors face threats we can barely imagine. They prepared for our eventual inheritance of their role. Agent Yuri had perhaps the most dangerous job of all. She worked with former hegemony officials who wanted to help rebuild rather than resist. Her language skills and cultural knowledge made her invaluable in establishing peaceful transitions of power. Many former enemies are becoming allies, she reported. They're learning that cooperation serves them better than conflict. As the first Galactic Council session neared its end, Ambassador So Young prepared to address the final business. The assembled representatives had spent weeks debating the structure of their new government. The result was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The Galactic Confederation will be governed by consensus, not conquest, So Young announced. Each member world will maintain its independence while contributing to our collective defense and prosperity. The humans would not lead this new government, despite their military superiority. Instead, they would serve as advisors and protectors, helping other species develop their own leadership capabilities. Admiral Hyun-woo delivered the closing address from his office on Earth, with the blue planet visible through the window behind him. The precursors entrusted us with their legacy, but that legacy belongs to all of us. Together, we will build a galaxy where every species can thrive. Dr. Yoon-ji's research had revealed the full scope of the precursor inheritance. Hidden throughout the galaxy were caches of technology, libraries of knowledge, and defensive systems that would protect the Confederation for millennia to come. We are the inheritors of the greatest civilization in galactic history, she told the assembly, but more importantly, we are the guardians of its future. As the council session ended, representatives from hundreds of worlds prepared to return home with news of the new order. For the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy had hope for a peaceful future. The hegemony's warning to stay out of Earth's territory had been ignored through arrogance. Their armadas had indeed been shattered, but the greater victory was not military. It was the restoration of freedom to countless worlds and the establishment of humanity as the galaxy's new guardians. The war was over. The peace was just beginning, and in the depths of space, ancient precursor monitoring stations registered the successful completion of their long vigil. The galaxy finally had protectors worthy of its trust. Admiral Hyun-woo stood alone in his office after the council session, looking out at the stars. Somewhere among those points of light were threats that would test the new confederation, but for now the galaxy was free, and humanity had proven itself worthy of the greatest trust in cosmic history. The precursor's legacy lived on in human hands, and the future belonged to all who chose freedom over tyranny. Supreme Commander Veltash stood in the ruins of his command center on the hegemony capital world of Zenthos Prime. Reports of defeat came from every corner of the galaxy. Human strike forces had destroyed shipyards, captured research stations, and liberated dozens of worlds. His empire was collapsing. "Sir," his trembling aide reported, "we've lost contact with the Rigel sector fleet. The humans hit their base 3 hours ago. No survivors." Veltash crushed the datapad in his clawed hands. In just 2 weeks, the humans had crippled his empire's ability to wage war. Their ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. "How many ships do we have left?" he demanded. "Less than 1,000, sir, and most of those are protecting the core worlds. 1,000 ships from an empire that once commanded 50,000. Veltash realized he had only one option left, the ultimate weapon. Hidden beneath Zenthos Prime's largest moon was a device capable of triggering supernovas. If he couldn't defeat the humans, he would deny them victory by destroying Earth's sun. "Activate the Star Killer," he ordered. "If we cannot win this war, we will ensure the humans cannot either." On Earth, Agent Yuri received Veltash's orders through her hidden communication device. She had spent 5 years working as a translator in the hegemony's central command, slowly gaining access to their most secret projects. Now her cover was about to pay off. Yuri was 33 years old with sharp eyes and perfect alien language skills. She had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in human intelligence, living among the aliens while pretending to be a loyal servant. Every day she risked discovery and execution. She quickly encoded a message and sent it through a hidden quantum transmitter. The message traveled instantly to Admiral Hyunwoo's headquarters on Earth. Starkiller weapon activated. Target Sol system. Estimated time to firing 6 hours. Admiral Hyunwoo read the message and felt ice in his veins. The Starkiller was theoretical technology that could make stars explode. If the aliens succeeded, Earth and everyone on it would be vaporized. Emergency meeting, he announced. All senior staff to the command center immediately. Within minutes, his best officers gathered around the holographic display table. Captain Jiho was there, promoted after his success in the border patrol. Dr. Yoonji attended via holographic link from her laboratory. Commander So Young joined them fresh from her latest victory against alien forces. The aliens have a weapon that can destroy our sun, Hyunwoo announced without ceremony. They're planning to fire it in 6 hours. We need to stop them. Dr. Yoonji brought up technical specifications on the display. According to our intelligence, the Starkiller is hidden inside an artificial moon orbiting the hegemony capital. It's protected by their entire remaining fleet and powerful defensive shields. How do we get close enough to destroy it? Captain Jiho asked. We don't destroy it, Hyunwoo replied. We capture it, and we use their own weapon against them. The mission fell to Captain Jiho and his new command, the experimental vessel Sol Rising. The ship was equipped with humanity's newest technology, reality manipulation devices that could alter the laws of physics in localized areas. Sir, Jiho said, my ship can phase through their defenses, but I'll need a distraction to get close to the weapon. You'll have it, So Young promised. I'll take the main fleet and attack their outer defenses. While they're busy with us, you can slip through and disable the Starkiller. The human fleet assembled near Zenthos Prime within 2 hours. 50 ships faced the aliens' last 1,000 vessels in the final battle of the war. But this time, the humans weren't just fighting for victory. They were fighting for survival. Commander So Young led the frontal assault aboard her new flagship, Seoul's Thunder. The massive battleship was armed with weapons that Dr. Yoonji had perfected, devices that could selectively edit matter out of existence. Enemy ships didn't just explode, they simply stopped being. All ships, So Young announced, engage at maximum range. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth. The battle began with the most spectacular display of firepower the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships fired beams of pure entropy that unraveled alien vessels at the molecular level. Gravity lances crushed enemy battleships into tiny spheres of compressed metal. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields to detonate inside reactor cores. The aliens fought desperately, knowing this was their last stand. But their weapons couldn't penetrate human defenses. Their shields couldn't stop human attacks. One by one, the pride of the hegemony navy was systematically destroyed. While the main battle raged, Captain Jiho guided Sol Rising through the chaos. His ship's reality manipulation systems bent space around them, making them effectively invisible to alien sensors. They slipped past the defensive fleet like a ghost. Approaching the artificial moon, Jiho reported. I can see the Starkiller's energy readings. It's charging for firing. The weapon was massive, built into the core of a moon-sized artificial satellite. Its energy output was enough to destabilize stellar fusion reactions from dozens of light years away. In 3 hours, it would fire a beam that would make Earth's sun explode. Beginning infiltration, Lieutenant Minho reported from the boarding shuttle. Now a special operations officer, he led a team of the military's best soldiers. Their power armor could phase through solid matter, making them nearly unstoppable. Minho's team materialized inside the Starkiller control center, their advanced armor allowing them to pass through walls like ghosts. The alien technicians didn't even see them coming. Control center secured, Minho reported. But sir, I'm reading massive gravitational distortions. The weapon is almost ready to fire. Supreme Commander Veltash had arrived at the Starkiller personally. He stood before the massive firing controls, his forearms working frantically to complete the activation sequence. When he saw the human soldiers appear from nowhere, his eyes filled with rage. Too late, humans, he screamed. In 2 minutes, your sun will explode. Your entire species will die. Minho raised his weapon, but Veltash was already activating the manual firing sequence. The Starkiller began to hum with deadly energy as it prepared to destroy the Sol system. "Not today," Minho said calmly. He activated his armor's quantum interface and connected directly to the weapon's computer system. His neural implants, reverse-engineered from precursor technology, gave him access to any electronic device. Instead of shutting down the Starkiller, Minho reprogrammed it. The weapon's targeting system switched from Earth's coordinates to Zenthos Prime's sun. The aliens' ultimate weapon was now aimed at their own star. "What have you done?" Veltash demanded, watching his control displays in horror. "Justice," Minho replied. "Your empire was built on stolen technology and conquered worlds. Time to give the galaxy back to its rightful owners." The Starkiller fired, but instead of destroying Earth, it targeted the hegemony capital system. Zenthos Prime's sun began to destabilize, its fusion reactions spiraling out of control. The aliens had minutes before their entire system would be consumed by stellar fire. "Evacuation ships are standing by," Minho announced over the emergency frequencies. "All hegemony personnel have 10 minutes to abandon the system." Veltash stared at the human soldier in disbelief. "You're letting us escape? Why?" "Because we're not like you," Minho replied. "We don't murder entire populations. The hegemony is finished, but your people can live on the worlds you originally came from." The Supreme Commander looked at his dying empire and realized the humans were offering mercy they didn't deserve. "Why do this? We tried to destroy your entire species." Minho holstered his weapon and prepared to leave. "Because someone has to show the galaxy what real justice looks like. The precursors chose humans to inherit their legacy. We won't waste that gift on revenge." As evacuation ships fled the dying system, Captain Jiho watched Zenthos Prime's sun begin its final collapse. The hegemony's capital would be destroyed, but millions of aliens would survive to build new lives on worlds freed from imperial rule. The war was over. The galaxy's stolen empire had fallen, and humanity had proven themselves worthy of the trust placed in them by the ancient precursors. Admiral Hyunwoo received the victory report on Earth and allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The threat to humanity was ended. But more importantly, 3,000 years of galactic oppression had finally come to an end. The survivors of the Second Hegemony Fleet limped back to their staging base in the Vega system, 25 light-years from Earth. Fleet Admiral Zeph Karen's flagship, the Galaxy Crusher, was badly damaged. Burn marks covered its hull, and several sections were completely destroyed. Supreme Commander Veltash waited for him at Vega Station, a massive space fortress that served as the hegemony's forward command post. The station was surrounded by defensive platforms and protected by energy shields that could stop entire fleets. "Explain this disaster," Veltash demanded as Zeph Karen stood before the War Council. "How did the humans destroy 2 fleets with only a handful of ships?" Zeph Karan's silver skin was pale with shock. "Supreme Commander, their technology is far beyond what we believed possible. They have weapons that ignore our shields and ships that can hide in other dimensions. Earth itself is protected by defenses we cannot penetrate." "You're telling me," Veltash said slowly, "that a species we thought was primitive has technology superior to our own?" "Yes, sir. Much superior. I believe they have been hiding their true capabilities for decades." Veltash turned to his intelligence chief, a creature with purple tentacles instead of arms. "How could our spies have been so wrong about human military strength?" The intelligence chief's tentacles writhed nervously. "Sir, all our reports showed primitive fusion drives and kinetic weapons. Either the humans developed advanced technology very quickly, or they have been deceiving us for a very long time. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had been watching them for 50 years. Hidden probes invisible to hegemony sensors had been placed throughout their territory. Every major alien world was under constant surveillance. On Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo sat in his command center reading intelligence reports. His staff had been monitoring alien communications since the retreat began. They knew exactly where the enemy was gathering and what they were planning. "Admiral," reported his intelligence officer, "the aliens are massing their remaining forces at Vega Station. They have about 8,000 ships left, including their home defense fleets." "Perfect," Hyunwoo replied. "They think distance will protect them. It's time to show them how wrong they are. Signal Captain Dong-hyun to prepare the strike fleet." Captain Dong-hyun received his orders aboard the flagship Dokdo, Earth's most advanced warship. Unlike the smaller patrol vessels the aliens had encountered, The Docto was a kilometer long and armed with humanity's most powerful weapons. All ships, Dong-hyun announced to his fleet, prepare for quantum tunnel jump. We're taking the war to the enemy's home base. The human strike fleet consisted of 50 ships, tiny compared to the thousands of alien vessels waiting at Vega. But these ships carried technology that the hegemony couldn't even imagine. Quantum tunnel drives allowed them to cross vast distances instantly. Stealth systems made them invisible to any known sensors. Dr. Yoon-ji monitored the operation from her laboratory. The quantum tunnel technology came from the ancient alien ship found 50 years ago. The original builders had been able to fold space itself, moving between star systems as easily as walking between rooms. Quantum tunnels opening, she reported. Fleet transition in 3, 2, 1. Mark. The human ships vanished from Earth space and reappeared deep inside the Vega system, completely bypassing the alien patrol fleets. They emerged within striking distance of Vega Station itself, their arrival undetected by enemy sensors. On Vega Station, Supreme Commander Veltash was meeting with his commanders when alarms began screaming throughout the base. His communications officer rushed into the room with panic in his eyes. "Sir," the officer gasped, "human ships have appeared inside our defensive perimeter. 50 vessels just materialized out of nowhere." "Impossible," Veltash roared. "They would need weeks to travel here from Earth. How could they arrive so quickly?" Fleet Admiral Zefkaran felt his blood turn cold. "Sir, their ships can travel faster than we thought possible. They must have some form of instantaneous travel." The human attack began immediately. Captain Dong-hyun targeted the largest alien battleships first, his quantum torpedoes phasing through their hulls to explode inside their reactor cores. The massive vessels, each one capable of destroying planets, were torn apart from within. Major Soo-jin led boarding parties onto the alien command ships. Her Marines wore power armor that could phase through solid walls, allowing them to appear inside enemy vessels without warning. Their advanced neural interfaces let them hack into alien computer systems directly, stealing tactical data faster than the aliens could react. "Boarding successful," Soo-jin reported as her team secured the alien flagship Eternal Domination. "We have access to their tactical computers. Downloading fleet positions and command codes now." The information she gathered was invaluable. The aliens had detailed maps of every hegemony world, complete with defensive positions and fleet movements. More importantly, the computers contained something that made Admiral Hyun-woo smile grimly when he saw it. "They have the locations of every hegemony research facility," Hyun-woo told his staff, "including their most secret projects. It seems they've been working on some interesting weapons." But the most shocking discovery came from Commander Woo Jin, captain of the stealth ship Ghost of Jeju. His vessel had been monitoring alien communications for years, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. What he had learned would change everything. "Admiral," Woo Jin reported via secure transmission, "I've been analyzing hegemony historical records. They're not the original rulers of this galaxy. 3,000 years ago, there was another civilization that controlled these systems. The hegemony conquered them and took their technology. The precursors," Dr. Yoon-ji whispered as she heard the report. "The same species that built the ship we found." Admiral Hyun-woo pieced the puzzle together. "So the technology we've been studying doesn't belong to some unknown aliens. It belongs to the original rulers of this galaxy. The hegemony has been using stolen precursor technology for thousands of years." This revelation explained everything. The ancient ship found beyond Pluto wasn't a random discovery. It was a message, a test, and an inheritance left by the galaxy's true masters. The precursors had hidden their most advanced technology, waiting for a worthy species to find it and use it properly. The hegemony stole an empire, Hyun-woo realized, and now we're taking it back for its rightful owners. At Vega Station, the battle was already over. The human strike fleet had destroyed or captured most of the alien vessels before they could mount an effective defense. Supreme Commander Veltash watched in horror as his carefully planned defenses crumbled. "How are they so fast?" he demanded. "How do they know exactly where to strike?" Fleet Admiral Zefkaran had no answers. The humans seemed to know everything about hegemony tactics and technology. They struck with surgical precision, targeting weak points that shouldn't have been known to outsiders. "Sir," his intelligence chief reported, "we're detecting massive data theft from our computer networks. Somehow the humans are accessing our most classified information." The truth was even worse than they imagined. For decades, tiny human probes had been watching every hegemony world. Earth scientists had studied alien technology, tactics, and weaknesses. When the war began, humans already knew everything about their enemy. Captain Dong-hyun completed his mission with minimal losses. His fleet had destroyed the hegemony's main staging area and captured massive amounts of intelligence data. But more importantly, they had proven that human forces could strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Mission accomplished, Dong-hyun reported to Admiral Hyun-woo. Vega Station is neutralized. The enemy fleet is scattered. We're ready to proceed to the next target. Hyun-woo looked at the star charts showing hegemony territory. Thousands of worlds, billions of aliens, all controlled by an empire built on stolen technology and conquered peoples. It was time to return the galaxy to its rightful state. Begin Phase 3, he ordered. Target their research facilities and shipyards. Let's see how well they fight when they can't build new weapons. The war was entering a new phase. The aliens had thought they were hunting weak humans. Instead, they had awakened the inheritors of the galaxy's most advanced civilization. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Fleet Admiral Zefkaran arrived 3 days later with 5,000 fresh ships. He was the hegemony's best military commander, a creature with silver skin and 6 arms who had conquered 20 star systems. His flagship, the Galaxy Crusher, was the largest warship ever built. Battlemaster Krexnal, Zefkaran said as his subordinate stood before him in shame. Explain to me how 5 human ships destroyed 600 of our vessels. Krexnal's thick armor was still damaged from the battle. Admiral, their technology is not what our intelligence reported. Their weapons pass through our shields like they don't exist. Their ships move faster than our sensors can track. Impossible, Zefkaran replied. Our scientists have studied human transmissions for decades. They use primitive fusion engines and metal projectiles. Show me the battle recordings. As the holographic display showed the destruction of the hegemony fleet, Zefkaran's confidence began to crack. The human ships did indeed move in ways that violated known physics. Their weapons appeared from nowhere and struck with impossible precision. This changes nothing, Zefkaran decided. We have 5,000 ships now. Even if their weapons are advanced, they cannot fight an entire armada. We will attack Earth directly and end this war. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt around Mars, Colonel Tae-ho watched the alien fleet approach on his command screens. He was 42 years old, a thin man with careful eyes who had spent his career preparing for this moment. Sir, reported his sensor operator, the alien fleet is moving toward Earth. They're bringing everything they have. Tae-ho smiled. Perfect. Signal all stations to prepare for Operation Surprise. It's time to show them what Mars really is. Throughout the asteroid belt, thousands of rocks began to change. What had looked like ordinary asteroids for decades suddenly revealed hidden weapon systems. Massive particle beam arrays unfolded from rocky surfaces. Missile launchers emerged from fake crater walls. Shield generators powered up, creating protective fields around each position. The aliens had never suspected that humans had turned the entire asteroid belt into a fortress. Every piece of space debris larger than a house contained weapons. Every mining station was actually a military base. Even the small research outposts were heavily armed battle platforms. Dr. Yoonji watched the preparations from her laboratory on Luna Base. She was the head of Earth's Theoretical Weapons Division, a brilliant scientist who looked much younger than her 55 years. Behind her, banks of computers processed data from the ancient alien ship found 50 years ago. Admiral Hyun-woo, she said into her communication device, all weapon systems are ready. The quantum field generators are at full power. Earth's dimensional shields are online. Excellent work, Doctor, came the Admiral's reply. How long can the shields hold against their entire fleet? Forever, sir, Yoonji replied with confidence. Their weapons can't touch anything protected by dimensional barriers. But more importantly, we're ready to show them our offensive capabilities. The hegemony fleet approached Earth at maximum speed. Fleet Admiral Zefkaran stood on his bridge, looking at the blue planet that had dared to resist his empire. It looked so peaceful, with white clouds and blue oceans visible from space. All ships, he ordered, prepare for planetary bombardment. We will turn Earth into a lifeless rock and end human resistance forever. But as his fleet moved into attack position, Earth began to change. The space around the planet shimmered like water, and suddenly thousands of massive structures appeared. Battle stations the size of small moons materialized from nowhere. their weapons already charging. Where did those come from? Zeph Karan demanded. His science officer checked his instruments in panic. Sir, they were hidden in higher dimensional space. Our sensors couldn't detect them because they weren't in our reality. This is technology we've never seen before. Captain Dong-hyun commanded the battleship Busan Thunder from Earth's orbital defense grid. His ship was hidden inside a dimensional pocket that made it invisible to normal sensors. Around him, hundreds of other human vessels waited in the same hidden space. All ships, Dong-hyun announced, emerge and engage the enemy. Show them what happens when someone threatens Earth. The human defense fleet appeared all around the aliens like ghosts becoming solid. Ships materialized above, below, and on all sides of the hegemony formation. The aliens found themselves surrounded by vessels using technology they couldn't understand. Zeph Karan realized he had made a terrible mistake. All ships fire everything. Destroy them before they can attack. The alien fleet opened fire with every weapon they possessed. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and fusion missiles filled space with deadly energy. The barrage was powerful enough to destroy entire star systems. But the human ships simply absorbed the attack. Their dimensional shields bent the enemy fire into other realities, making the most powerful weapons in the galaxy completely useless. Impossible, Zeph Karan whispered. Our weapons should be able to crack planets. How are their shields so strong? Dr. Yunji had the answer. 50 years ago, humans had found the wreck of an ancient starship drifting beyond Pluto. Inside that ship were the remnants of a civilization that had once ruled the entire galaxy. Their technology was so advanced that it seemed like magic. For 5 decades, Earth's best scientists had studied every piece of that alien wreck. They had learned to manipulate gravity, bend space and time, and hide entire fleets in pocket dimensions. The ancient aliens had left behind weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Human fleet, Captain Dong-hyun announced. You are cleared to fire. Show them the power of Earth. The human counterattack began. Gravitational lances tore apart alien ships by crushing them into tiny balls of metal. Quantum disruptors made enemy vessels simply vanish from reality. Plasma cannons fired beams of concentrated starfire that could melt any armor. In 30 minutes, the hegemony's second fleet was destroyed. 5,000 ships, the pride of their empire, were reduced to glowing wreckage floating in space around Earth. Fleet Admiral Zeph Karan's flagship was the only vessel to survive, its shields barely holding against the human assault. He stared in horror at the destruction of his fleet, unable to understand how the humans had become so powerful. Retreat, he ordered. Signal all remaining forces to fall back to the outer systems. We need to warn the Supreme Commander. As the Galaxy Crusher limped away from Earth, Zeph Karan realized that everything the hegemony believed about humans was wrong. They weren't a primitive species with simple technology. They were something far more dangerous. Colonel Taeho watched the alien retreat from his command post in the asteroid belt. Around him, his officers were celebrating their victory. But Taeho knew this was just the beginning. Sir, his communications officer reported, Admiral Hyun-woo is requesting a status report. Tell the Admiral that Earth's defenses held perfectly, Taeho replied. No enemy ships penetrated our shields. No human casualties reported. But they'll be back with everything they have. Admiral Hyun-woo received the report on Luna Base and nodded grimly. The aliens had seen only a small portion of Earth's true capabilities. When they returned, they would bring their entire empire. But humanity was ready for that too. The war was far from over. The hegemony would not give up easily. But they had learned an important lesson. Earth was not the weak target they had expected. It was a fortress protected by technology beyond their understanding. And somewhere in the depths of space, the ancient alien ship that had started it all continued to drift, holding secrets that humanity was still learning to use. The hegemony fleet moved through space like hungry wolves. 2,000 massive ships blocked out the stars as they approached the human colony on Kepler 442b. Battlemaster Krexnel stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the small blue world grow larger on his screens. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're detecting a small human patrol squadron ahead. Only 5 ships. They're moving to intercept us. Krexnel laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. 5 ships against 2,000. These humans were either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both. Commander So Young sat in the captain's chair of the destroyer Soul's Pride. Her ship was only 300 meters long, tiny compared to the alien vessels that filled space before her. But her crew of 48 moved with calm confidence, each person knowing exactly what to do. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," So Young ordered. She was 38 years old with short black hair and steady hands. She had trained for this moment her entire adult life. The face of Battlemaster Krexnal appeared on her main screen. His alien features were twisted with arrogance and anger. Behind him, So Young could see dozens of other creatures working at strange-looking control stations. "Human vessel." Krexnal's voice boomed through the speakers. "You will surrender immediately. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Resist and we will destroy your entire species." So Young's expression didn't change. She looked directly at the alien commander with cold eyes. "This is Commander So Young of the Terran Defense Corps. You have entered human space without permission. You have 10 seconds to reverse course and leave our territory." The aliens on Krexnal's bridge burst into laughter. The Battlemaster himself made a sound like breaking glass. 10 seconds? "Little human, you are outnumbered 400 to 1. Your tiny ships cannot harm our armor. Surrender now, and we might let some of your people live as slaves." So Young looked at her weapons officer, Lieutenant Min Ho, who was 26 years old with quick reflexes and nerves of steel. "Mr. Min Ho, are our special systems ready?" "All systems green, Commander," Min Ho replied. "Waiting for your orders." So Young turned back to the screen where Krexnal was still grinning with his sharp teeth. 10 seconds are up, alien. You chose poorly." She cut the transmission and activated her ship's battle alert. Red lights flashed throughout Soul's Pride as the crew prepared for combat. But they weren't afraid. They had been waiting 50 years for this fight. Krexnal stared at his blank screen for a moment, then turned to his weapons officer. "These humans are insane. Destroy that patrol squadron. Make it slow so the others can watch and learn fear." 12 of the largest hegemony dreadnoughts moved forward. Each ship was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to level entire continents. Their massive plasma cannons began to glow with deadly energy. "Target acquired," the alien weapons officer reported. "But sir, I'm reading strange energy patterns from the human ships. Their power signatures are much higher than they should be." "Impossible," Krexnal snapped. "Their technology is primitive. Fire all weapons." The alien dreadnoughts opened fire. Beams of superheated plasma, each one hot enough to melt steel in seconds, lanced out toward the human patrol squadron. The energy barrage was massive enough to destroy a small moon. But as the plasma beams struck the human ships, something incredible happened. The deadly energy simply vanished, absorbed by invisible shields that shouldn't exist. The 5 human vessels hung in space completely undamaged. "What?" Krexnal roared. "How are they still alive?" On Soul's Pride, So Young smiled grimly. "Mr. Minho, show them what Earth technology can really do. Fire quantum torpedoes." Minho's fingers danced over his control panel. Firing quantum torpedoes. All tubes loaded and ready, the human ships launched their counterattack. To alien sensors, it looked like the humans had fired nothing. No missiles appeared on their screens. No energy beams lanced through space. The hegemony officers began to think the humans were trying to trick them. Then the first alien dreadnought simply exploded. The massive ship, which had survived battles against entire fleets, was torn apart from the inside. Its hull cracked open like an egg, spilling atmosphere and crew into the vacuum of space. Seconds later, 2 more dreadnoughts met the same fate. "Impossible!" Krexnal screamed. "Our shields are at full power. How did their weapons get through?" His science officer was frantically checking his instruments. "Sir, their weapons seem to phase through solid matter. They're somehow striking our ships from inside our own hulls. This technology shouldn't exist." The human patrol squadron pressed their attack. What the aliens didn't know was that each small human ship carried weapons reverse-engineered from ancient technology found 50 years ago. Quantum torpedoes that could pass through any barrier. Gravitational lances that tore apart matter at the atomic level. Plasma cannons that fired concentrated pieces of starfire. Commander So Young watched as alien ship after alien ship was destroyed by her small fleet. Captain Daun in the destroyer Busan Thunder was systematically destroying the enemy's left flank. Captain Seok Jin commanded the Soul Wind as it tore through alien battle cruisers like they were made of paper. Captain Haewon's ship, the Rising Sun, used gravitational weapons to crush enemy vessels into balls of twisted metal. In 20 minutes, the human patrol squadron had destroyed over 600 enemy ships. The remaining aliens fled in terror, their commanders unable to understand how such a small force had defeated them so easily. "Retreat," Krexnal ordered, his voice filled with panic. All ships retreat to minimum safe distance. As the alien fleet pulled back, their sensors recorded everything. The impossible energy readings, the weapons that passed through shields, the small human ships that moved faster than physics should allow. On Soul's Pride, So Young opened a channel to Admiral Hyunwoo back on Earth. His face appeared on her screen, and she could see the pride in his eyes. "Mission accomplished, Admiral," she reported. "The aliens have been given their first lesson. They're pulling back to regroup." "Well done, Commander," Hyunwoo replied. "How many ships did we lose?" "None, sir. All vessels report minor shield damage only. The enemy couldn't penetrate our defenses." Hyunwoo nodded. "That will change when they bring reinforcements. Are you ready for the next phase?" So Young looked out at the stars where the alien fleet was regrouping. She could see hundreds of ships gathering, preparing for another attack. But she wasn't worried. Earth had been preparing for this war for 5 decades. "We're ready, Admiral," she said. "Let them bring their entire fleet. It's time to show the galaxy that humans are not the weak species they think we are." The first battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The hegemony had learned that humans were more dangerous than they appeared. Soon they would learn just how dangerous Earth could be when threatened. Krexnel sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the human ships in the distance. How had 5 small vessels destroyed a third of his fleet? What other surprises were the humans hiding? He was about to find out. The massive crystal hall on planet Valthera glowed with red light. Hundreds of alien beings sat in tall chairs. Their strange eyes focused on the floating screen in the center. The Galactic Hegemony's War Council was meeting, and they were angry. Admiral Hyunwoo stood in his small command room on Earth's Luna base. His gray hair was cut short, and his dark eyes showed years of military service. He looked at the camera that would send his message across the galaxy. Behind him, the blue marble of Earth hung in the black space, peaceful and quiet. "This is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Terran Defense Corps," he said in a calm voice. "I speak for all humans in the 12 systems under Earth's protection. Our territorial boundaries are clearly marked. Any ship that enters our space without permission will be destroyed. This is your final warning." The message traveled through space faster than light, reaching the alien council in seconds. When Hyunwoo's face appeared on their screen, many of the aliens made sounds of anger and disgust. Supreme Commander Veltash rose from his throne. He was tall with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Vorthak, had ruled the galaxy for over 300 years. They controlled 3,000 star systems and billions of ships. "Look at this human," Veltash said, pointing at the screen with one of his clawed hands. "They think 12 small systems can stand against our empire. Their technology is hundreds of years behind ours. Their ships use simple rockets and metal bullets." The other aliens laughed. Intelligence reports showed that human ships moved slowly and carried weak weapons. Earth's military seemed to have only a few hundred vessels spread across 12 systems. The hegemony had destroyed civilizations with 10 times more ships than the humans possessed. "We have waited long enough," Veltash continued. "The humans control systems we need for our expansion. They sit on worlds rich with rare metals and energy sources. It is time to take what should be ours." Battlemaster Krexnel stood up from his seat. He was shorter than Veltash but twice as wide, with thick armor covering his body. His species, the Gorlians, were known as the best warriors in the galaxy. "Give me 2,000 ships," Krexnel said. "I will crush these humans in 1 day. Their primitive weapons cannot harm our shields. Our plasma cannons will turn their worlds to glass." Veltash nodded. "Do it. Show the galaxy what happens to those who refuse to bow to the hegemony." Far away in the Proxima system, Captain Jiho sat in his command chair aboard the patrol ship Indomitable. The bridge was small and cramped, with only 6 crew members working at their stations. Jiho was young for a captain, only 35 years old, but he had sharp instincts. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Yuna from the sensor station, "I'm reading massive fleet movements at the edge of our territory. Looks like over 2,000 ships heading our way." Jiho felt his stomach tighten. He had hoped the aliens would listen to Admiral Hyunwoo's warning. "Send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them the hegemony is coming." The message reached Admiral Hyunwoo within minutes. He read the report twice, then walked to his window. Earth looked so peaceful from here, with white clouds swirling over blue oceans. Most of the people down there had no idea what was coming. Hyunwoo touched a red button on his desk. Across human space, hidden bases received the signal. Protocol 7 was now active. Soldiers who had been pretending to be farmers put on their armor. Cargo ships revealed weapon systems that had been carefully hidden. Orbital stations that looked like simple mining platforms powered up shields that could stop small moons. For 50 years, humanity had been preparing for this day. Every human child learned the real history in secret schools. They knew about the ancient ship found drifting in space beyond Pluto. They knew about the technology hidden inside that ship. They knew that Earth was not as helpless as it appeared. The hegemony fleet gathered at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Battlemaster Krexnel stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. Through the large windows, he could see rows of ships stretching as far as his eyes could reach. Each ship was the size of a small city, armed with weapons that could crack planets. "Begin the invasion," Krexnel ordered. "Target the human colony on Kepler 442b first. Make it quick and brutal. I want the other human worlds to see what happens when they anger the hegemony." The alien fleet moved forward like a storm of metal and fire. Their ships' hulls gleamed in the light of the system's star. Plasma cannons charged with enough energy to melt mountains. Missile tubes loaded with warheads that could destroy entire cities. But as they crossed into human space, something strange happened. The ship's sensors began picking up odd readings. Energy signatures that didn't match anything in their databases. Gravitational fields that bent and twisted in impossible ways. "What are those readings?" Krexnel demanded. His science officer, a thin creature with purple skin, checked his instruments. "Unknown, sir." "The energy patterns don't match any known technology. They seem to be coming from empty space." Krexnel waved a dismissive hand. "Probably just sensor ghosts caused by solar radiation. These primitive systems often have unusual readings. Continue the attack." The hegemony fleet pressed forward, their commanders confident in their superior numbers and technology. They had destroyed hundreds of civilizations before. The humans would be just another entry in their list of conquests. But deep in space around them, hidden systems were waking up. Weapons platforms that had waited decades for this moment were coming online. Ships that looked like simple patrol vessels were revealing their true nature. And on distant Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo was preparing to show the galaxy that humans were not the primitive species they appeared to be. The first battle of the war was about to begin. The hegemony expected an easy victory. They were about to learn that sometimes the smallest opponent can deliver the biggest surprise. Krexnel looked at the peaceful-looking human colony ahead of his fleet. In a few hours, he thought, it would be nothing but dust and ash. He had no idea that he was flying into the most devastating trap in galactic history.